That night, I finally understood what desire feels like, and it wasn't in the way movies or romance novels had ever prepared me for. It was messier, quieter, and somehow louder all at once. It started with a simple invitation and ended with a memory that's etched into my mind like a fingerprint. It was mid-October in upstate New York, the leaves bursting in color, the air carrying that distinct chill that hinted at the approaching winter. I was 23, newly graduated from college, and trying to figure out how to exist in a world that didn't hand me syllabi and office hours. I had taken a job at a local bookstore in Albany to make ends meet. It wasn't glamorous, but the quiet comfort of being surrounded by books felt like a hug from the universe. I didn't have a big friend circle anymore, just a few co-workers and the occasional coffee buddy. My world was small, simple, and safe. Then there was Ethan. Ethan Reynolds was a writer who had come in one afternoon asking about a book on American folklore. He had tousled dark hair, deep-set green eyes, and that kind of casual charm that didn't come off as arrogant but effortless. He wore a leather jacket that had definitely seen better days, and he smiled like he knew something you didn't. I pointed him to the right shelf, and he thanked me with a grin. I remember watching him walk away and thinking, people like him usually leave a trail behind. I didn't expect him to come back the next day. Or the next. But he did. At first, it was short chats, him asking for obscure titles, me pretending to know more than I did. Over time, it turned into conversations about everything from politics to movie endings. I learned he was 30, had published 2 novels, and was working on his 3rd in a rented cabin outside the city. He admitted he came to the bookstore more for the distraction than the research. "You're better than any plot twist," he once said with a wink. I blushed like a teenager, pretending it didn't fluster me. But inside, something fluttered. One Friday evening, just as I was about to close up, Ethan showed up holding 2 cups of hot chocolate and asked if I wanted to take a walk. I hesitated. My life didn't have spontaneous walks with enigmatic men. But something in me, maybe the version of me who had always played it safe, was tired of always saying no. I said yes. We walked through Washington Park, the leaves crunching beneath our feet, the stars sharp in the cold sky. We didn't talk much that night. It wasn't uncomfortable silence, though. It was peaceful, like our thoughts were walking side by side too. At one point, he reached for my hand, and I let him take it. It wasn't electric. It was grounding. Like something inside me had been waiting for that exact touch. Weeks passed. We saw each other more often. Sometimes in public, sometimes back at his cabin. He cooked better than I did, and I liked watching him move around his kitchen with a kind of quiet confidence. We never labeled anything. There were no grand declarations. But there were moments. Like the way he looked at me when I laughed at my own jokes. Or how he always waited until I fell asleep before he did, his fingers gently tracing patterns on my back. Still, nothing had happened beyond lingering kisses and longer hugs. Part of me thought maybe he didn't feel what I did. Another part knew he did, but something held him back. I never pushed. I was content in the stillness of whatever we had. Then came that night. It was the first snow of the season, early November. The kind that started slow and then suddenly blanketed the world in white. Ethan had picked me up after work, and we drove in near silence to his cabin. The windows fogged from the heat inside. He had made a fire, and the room glowed in orange and amber. We sat close on the couch, a movie playing softly in the background. I wasn't watching. Neither was he. "You ever think about how rare this is?" he asked suddenly, not looking at me. "What is this?" "You and me. The fact that we met at the exact moment in life when we were both in limbo." I smiled, pulling the blanket tighter around me. "You make it sound like fate." "Maybe it is," he whispered. The silence that followed was heavy with possibility. My heart thudded loudly in my chest, not from fear but from anticipation. I turned to face him, and he was already looking at me. His hand reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. He leaned in slowly, not like in the movies, but like someone who didn't want to break the moment. When our lips met, it wasn't hurried. It was soft, searching. I felt his hand on my waist, pulling me closer. My own fingers tangled in his shirt. The kiss deepened, breath-catching, hearts racing. We didn't speak, didn't need to. Every movement, every touch spoke louder than words. He stood and offered his hand. I took it. In his room, the snow falling outside his window felt like a secret between us. He lit a single candle, the flame flickering in rhythm with the rise and fall of our breaths. There was no music, no rehearsed lines. Just honesty in the way we undressed each other, slowly, like unwrapping something delicate. That night, I finally understood what desire feels like. It wasn't just about bodies. It was about connection. It was in the way he looked at me like I was something sacred. In the way my name sounded different when whispered against skin. It was the heat of his breath, the urgency in his hands, the way time melted around us. It was vulnerability, trust, the giving and receiving of something deeper than pleasure. Afterward, we lay there in silence, limbs tangled, his thumb tracing circles on my shoulder. The firelight danced across the ceiling, and outside, the snow continued to fall. "I don't think I've ever felt like this before," I whispered. He kissed my temple. "Me neither." In the days that followed, things didn't explode into chaos or passion-fueled madness. They got quieter, sweeter. We still laughed at dumb movies, still argued over pizza toppings. But something had shifted. We had crossed a threshold we couldn't return from, and neither of us wanted to. Desire, I learned, wasn't a wild storm or an uncontrollable fire. It was the slow-burning ache that grows when two people find home in each other. It was the electricity in the mundane, the way a glance across a room could steal your breath. It was him reaching for my hand as we crossed the street. It was the way he always kept an extra mug for me in his cabinet, even when he wasn't sure I'd stay. Months passed. Winter turned to spring. His book got finished, and my world grew bigger with him in it. We didn't say "I love you" right away. But we showed it in burned pancakes, in late-night drives, in long silences that felt like music. And sometimes, when we sat by that same fire, wrapped in that same blanket, he'd look at me with that same intensity and whisper, "That night, you changed everything." And I'd smile, because I knew exactly what he meant. Desire wasn't just about that night. It was everything that followed. It was the slow unfolding of two lives willing to intertwine, not perfectly, but honestly. And that is something I'll carry with me always.